Oh, hey there. My name is Tim Murphy. Stop what you're doing right now and give me 10 seconds. I have something really important to share with you. Now, you're probably not happy with your job, and they probably aren't paying you the money that you deserve. Let me tell you about MercerCountyWorks.com. They're the #1 fastest growing job engine in New Jersey. And unlike Monster, Career Builder, and Glassdoor, Mercer County Works connects directly with employers to get your resume in front of decision makers. Okay, stop looking at me and go to MercerCountyWorks.com right now and upload your resume today.
And we are live. Welcome, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Welcome to another episode of the Rise and Grind Show. I'm your main man, Duncan Harrison. I'm here with another great episode. A lot of special guests for you here today, talking about securing the bag. But before we even get into that, I want to introduce my main man live from Qatar. Brother, please tell them who you are.
What's going on? Peace and blessings to the universe. My name is Jay Tyler, other known as Justin Tyler, out here in Qatar, just doing our thing. So we're here today. We got a star-studded lineup about securing the bag, and everybody trying to secure the bag for 2021. And I personally think some people securing it, some people not securing it. You know what I mean? So we're going to see what's going on. We're going to separate the fake from the real today. Bag, and everybody trying to secure the bag for 2021. And I personally think some people securing it, some people not securing it. You know what I mean? So we're going to see what's going on. We're going to separate the fake from the real today. Bag, and everybody trying to secure the bag.
Awesome, definitely. Well, before we get started, I just want to make sure I want to do some mic checks really quickly because I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. Does anybody else hear that? If you can hear us clear, I just want for our viewers, if you can hear us clear out there, definitely just give us a thumbs up.
Let us know.
To make sure you're able to hear us. Oh, yes. Awesome. We are good to go. So listen, we're very excited tonight. We have some special guests for you. Definitely. And I just want to introduce them to you and have them introduce themselves before we get into the questions. And so our first special guest tonight, and I've practiced this many times, so hopefully I get it right, Miss Elizabeth Guetti.
That's right. That's perfect. Thank you so much, Duncan. I am so elated to be here with all of you tonight. Again, my name is Elizabeth Guetti. I am the CEO of We Resolve to Win. I am a former contract attorney. As someone that has done transactional work for a number of years, I know very, very well the importance of negotiating and negotiating for peace. I'm a negotiation strategist for women, particularly women that are of the marginalized community. And I'm so excited to be here as we talk about securing the bag.
Awesome. Well, definitely excited to have you here tonight. I'm pretty sure you're going to add a lot of great value. So definitely excited. And so our next special guest that I'd like to introduce is Miss Lakeisha Cyprian.
All right, so I'm unmuted now. Thank you for that. Hello, everyone. Super excited to be here this evening, just with so much good energy, right, on this call. Mm-hmm. My name is Lakeisha Cyprian. I am the community marketing manager at Reading Plus, which is an adaptive literacy intervention for students grades 3 through 12. I have the great pleasure of managing our Literacy Leaders Network, gathering customer stories. In short, I play talk show host to many customers across the country and our nation, learning about how our program really helps to shape and develop students' lives. In addition to that, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 6 years old. Yes, that is correct. Since I was 6 years old, I managed multiple businesses in different fields. And so I'm happy to share a little bit more about that this evening. And it's just an honor to be here tonight.
Great. Also, definitely really excited to have you here tonight. Looking forward to a great show with some of your input as well. And so next, I want to introduce our other special guest, Mr. Frederick Williams. We got you. Get you off mute.
Special guest. Thank you so much. Can you hear me now? Great. I am Frederick. I'm based here in Brooklyn, New York, and I think for me, I've had the special guest. Thank you so much. The amazing experience of having to work in roles where my only job was to love and understand customers and take those customers' frustrations and pain points and then use them as a metric to solve an opportunity. So for me, I'm in the next natural step of my progression where I'm looking to move over to the user experience role, still creating those great opportunities for customers and still loving to learn from customers. And I'm so happy to be here today to sit next to the greatness which is all of you. And thank you so much for having me.
Well, definitely glad to have you. I'm pretty sure you're going to add a lot of great value as well tonight. Definitely really excited. And so our last, but not our final guest, Ms. KD Hall. Pretty sure you're going to add a lot of great value as well tonight. Definitely really excited. And so our last, but not our final guest, Ms. KD Hall. Pretty sure you're going to add a lot of great value as well tonight. Definitely really excited. And so our last, but not our final guest, Ms. KD Hall. Pretty sure you're going to add a lot of great value as well tonight. Definitely really.
Okay, hi. Thank you so much, Duncan, and Justin Tyler, from having me here today. I'm so excited to meet everyone. I see a lot of people that I know and some other people I want to get to know better. So excited to meet with all of you. I don't know, I'm a master of just people. I just work with people. I make movies, I make stories. I really do it all. I teach, I'm a mother. And I'm so excited to be here. And I'll just say that I feel like my business has grown the most when I got real with myself and I let myself be myself, which means I do multiple things. And so I am very much looking forward to being on this panel today and being able to speak with everybody and hopefully being able to share some wisdom on how to secure multiple bags. I'm currently the CEO or co-founder of 4 businesses. I have KD Hall Foundation, which is nonprofit, which gives back to the community. You got to spend some of your time giving back. So I do that there. I have KD Hall Communications, which is what I went to school for, communications and journalism. I've been doing that for a very long time and have really grown in that field. I also have a new business, which is CBD, because I'm thinking about that generational wealth and thinking about my kids. And so it's called Bell Body Royal. As a matter of fact, we are one of the only Black intimacy CBD companies in the country. So please check us out. And then we have a 4th business as well. We're opening up a mortgage brokerage company as well down in Florida. So I would say that it's all about securing multiple bags at once. And it's our time right now. So get out there and get them. Looking forward to joining on this conversation today.
Yeah. Hey, I felt like we misnamed the show. You know, secure the bags. You know what I mean? Like you did 4 bags, I think, right there. I couldn't even count how many. But yeah, great job, KD. Great job. Go ahead, Duncan. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, definitely. I think we've come to the part of the show where it's time to get right into the questions, right?
All right. My favorite point. All right. So without further ado, let's do what we came here to do. You dig? Let's go. Let's go. First question, right? Set it off right. So the legend, Aretha Franklin, the legend. So legend has it that Secure the Bag is slightly associated to Aretha Franklin. So back in the day, you know, when she was singing, there were some white club owners who didn't pay Black performers on time or at all. So what she did was demand the money up front. She had a bag where she put the money inside. She took that bag with her and put it on the piano. And she kept her eye on that bag while she was singing so she could take that bag home once she was done. All right. So her money was always focused on at all times. Right. So that was a really cool story. But I just want to know, in your, path to get the bag or bags, right? In KD's sense, bags, right? How often does this situation happen to you when someone tries to short you, or you negotiate wrong, or the money doesn't add up? So talk to us about that experience, because not all glitter is gold.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have our master negotiator. I mean, I want to jump in, but Elizabeth, is it all right?
Go for it. Go for it.
I'm ready to hear it.
Yeah,
act, you know what I mean? Like, seriously. But I just recently had a situation like this, and all money's not good. I recently just dropped a client. It was a client that was starting off a new business, and really from the very beginning, I should never took the client to begin with, because she was very disrespectful in many ways. She asked me about my age. She asked me about why was my hair different in different meetings. And so after working with her, the only reason why I took the client is because she was tied to so many of my other high profile clients. But I took her in at about 30% less than what I normally would charge someone. She was a white woman, and not that that's anything to do with it, but she's also part of a different generation too. She was about 60 years old. And I think that she was struggling with the time that we're living in right now, and with the way that Black women are emerging, would I say, into all types of positions. And so it was just it was a bad situation. And what I did is one thing I did right is that we made sure that our contract was looked at by a lawyer before we signed it. All right, Elizabeth. Yep. And then we made sure that the contract was more leaning towards our business. And so when she canceled the contract, not only did we keep the deposit, but legally we can go after her for the rest of the remainder of the contract if we wanted to. Now, I don't want drama, so I told her, keep the rest of your little money, but at the end of the day, you're not getting back your deposit. And so she canceled. And so I guess what I would say is that when you are securing bags, just make sure to check in with yourself, check in with your gut, check in with your instincts, and make sure that those customers match your values.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure that paperwork is right.
Yeah, I've seen an experience of when they tend to, and I'm speaking of prospect or clients, where they tend to also want to barter the relationship. But the bartering of the relationship doesn't supply income to your Bank of America.
Right.
I've had those experiences. I mean, they have kept the lights on. The lights are still on now. But I've seen also when, just to speak to Katie's point, I'm just going to paraphrase a tad bit. Just really knowing your story and knowing what the value you bring to the table. I mean, it'll speak volumes, because all money is not good money. And all experiences are not going to be great experiences. But I've seen those kinds of opportunities where, hey, listen, I just was part of a great TV show. I just was, featured in Essence, and you can leverage relationships through me. But I think that really works well when you are not being Aretha Franklin-ish, that you are maybe hustling, but it gets to the point where I'm from the South, so I'm just gonna say being longer in the tooth, where you know where your values lie as you begin to age and progress, not just physically, but just when you start to manifest the things that you want for your business.
I can agree with you more. I'm so glad that you mentioned this, Frederick. For me, I project ahead. So I think about, what type of bag do I want to secure in the future for the long term, right? How will this connection help me in the future if I give my time and attention and resources and talents to this? Will this small contract, this gig or new opportunity lead me to greater ones? First, you need to take time to sit with yourself and reflect on that before moving too quickly or being reactive because that person has a celebrity connection or that person has experienced something that you want to in the moment. But so I think if you spend some time with yourself, if you reflect on how it will support you in the long term, then you'll have you'll position yourself for better decision making.
Yes,
I think. Yep, go for it, Fred.
No, I talk so much. Please. Go ahead.
Thank you. No, I think it's the first observation that I have is that I find it very interesting that a Black woman had to undergo and strategize and find a very unique way in order to ensure that she was getting the money that she worked for. Let's go ahead and park that right there, because throughout society, we have seen that people that come from marginalized communities, people who are minoritized, and people who are deliberately silenced by the majority, we often have to get creative, right? We often have to have, 3 or 4 side hustles and jobs, and all these sorts of different things. And what that has caused us to do is that has caused us to become very creative, which is a wonderful thing. And that's why we're very entrepreneurial in our pursuits. But we also have to pause and say, while that's a good thing, we need to make sure that society is correcting its behavior towards us, because what we don't want is society to be okay or to normalize the idea that we have to undergo all of these hoops and loops and do all sorts of tricks in order to be paid for the worth of the work that we do. That's the first thing. Secondly, I think we have to be very mindful of when we are attempting to secure the bag, that we trust our gut, that we trust our voice, and that we're very clear, because if you are not clear on what works for you, you will not have the boundaries that you need to establish, whether it's within a relationship, whether it's within a contract, whether you're negotiating your salary within a corporate space. So if you are not clear, you can't speak to what will work for you, work with for your family, your partner, your community, etc. So that's a part of securing the bag, making sure that you know and you are fully aligned with what makes sense for you so that you can walk that out in excellence.
Good point. I think that all three touched on the base of honestly looking at it from a panoramic standpoint, to see like that larger view, while you're moving into the experience of the work, and then aligning it with what it means to have integrity in what we're doing moving forward. Because for me, just to echo all three, I want my work to be aligned with, I want my work to speak in different volumes now, in different parts of, and different parts of different conversations. And I want it to be more meaningful. So I'll just leave that there, but all great points.
So Frederick, let me tag, because you just said a word that I want to talk about, right? And it's worth, right? And so now you hear a lot of the generation millennials, a lot of people saying, know your worth, or I'm worth, more than this. So as someone, that's been in management, how do you kind of tell somebody, or maybe explain to somebody that you may not have hit that dollar amount that you think you're worth yet?
Right. Well, for me, I think a lot of people on the call, KD used the experience of falling under the moniker of woman, but for me, I fall under about 2 or 3 other monikers, and so for me, I had to learn how to really overcome the part of my career where I felt like an imposter, where I felt like someone else could do it much better. Coming from a Black Southern queer space, I had to really learn, what it meant to be taken serious in my role. So I don't march in with guns. Well, I shouldn't say guns blazing this day and age, but I don't march in with, I'm worth more than that. But I do. I'm able to have the conversation about what doesn't really speak to me as far as. I think it comes from being an entrepreneurship. I think it's a little bit different in corporate, but being an entrepreneur, I'm just able to really have that conversation, to be open and honest. And just to also just touch back on just something that for some more emotional context in it. I know the things that make me happy. I know what I can do. There was something else I wanted to say. It may come back to me, but I know my story. And it took me years to really understand my story. I think, honestly, I'm 42. I learned my story like a couple of months ago. And I was able to go back and look and say, I have done some amazing things, especially when you leave a company and you see them implement the strategies that you used to once do. And they still hold on to it. And then they write you these, I'm not going to project a lot, but they write you these really amazing testimonies and things like on your social feeds or whatever. You're the best. But just going back and knowing your story, what you bring to the table. And I've seen people say they want the bells and whistles and the marching band, but they literally want to pay you pennies. But then there's another part of their strategy that may be just as important, and they can pay them without even a second part of their conversation. And they usually don't look like you.
Can I just jump in here real quick? Because when you said imposter syndrome, that spoke to me just so deeply, Frederick. What I've experienced that myself over the years. I'm in the field of education technology now, but I haven't always been. I'm self-taught in coding. So one of the things that I do is website design. And I had to literally surround myself with others who were in this technology space because I hadn't taken any formal classes or education, but I ended up in the education technology space. So happy to be in it now. But when I think about just like my career trajectory, never feeling like I could access that space, right? So I then had to challenge myself to understand why I felt that way, and then create a running record of my accomplishments, my contributions. I noticed that I was being asked to be on different technology related projects consistently, asked to support large scale projects consistently. So why don't I feel worthy enough to take this on? And finally, in being honest with myself, I said, you know, I'm going to keep a running record. And when I come to the table, whether it be for negotiating or whether it be for a new opportunity, I can present all that I am worth, that I know I deserve as well. So I think just, you know, first of all, acknowledging that feeling, where it comes from, and then just being clear about what you do bring to the table. Knowing who you are.
I do want to add this part to it too. The same thing that you did to learn coding is the same that they did as well, because you know we all work. Well, a lot of us worked at the university, and we don't create things just because it's just you know new. They create it based on a need, and so before it becomes a degree program, someone else is already teaching themselves. Because you know, I'll leave it that way. But I'm also you know.
No, I agree with you, Frederick. I think University of Phoenix, you know, it definitely had its down. It definitely had its down things to it. But I think the beautiful thing about University of Phoenix, it was very innovative, and we had opportunities to really innovate. We were from all over the place, and we all were like put in that building together, and like super duper creative. And that's really, when you think about it, sort of what like ran that campus. And even speaking of University of Phoenix, when we talk about negotiation, even if there's people on a call that's, like you said, employed and they don't have businesses yet, what I would say, even at University of Phoenix, when I first started there, was 2007. And I remember, and I had a record. So it wasn't like just simply walking into an organization and just saying, hey, I know I'm worth this. I knew I was, you know, I had my degree as well. But when I remember walking through that door and they offered me $32,000, this was in 2007 in Spokane. And before that, coming out of college, I was making $80,000 at Comcast. So I'm like, oh, this is a hard pill to swallow. And I remember my husband was just like, look, we just got married. We moved to Spokane, but take that damn job. You take that $32,000. You couldn't get hired at Walmart. I said, no, I'm sorry. I can't do it. I can't stomach it. And I remember calling the director and I said, listen, you got to at least give me $35,000. And he was like, well, why? I said, because I know I'm good. I know how to connect with different type of people. I'm a people person. I can work with people that's up here. I can work with people that's down there. If that's what y'all consider it, I can work with anybody. I said, so you need to give me the job. I'm gonna promote everything I told him. When I got in there, I actually executed. You know what I mean? And so I would say that negotiation is something, even if some people feel like they're not good at it, it's a continual. It's something that you continuously work on, and it's something that you continuously grow. It's like a muscle. You continuously grow that muscle or that skill, and you get better and better and better at it. And in my opinion, you get better at it when you make mistakes. And they didn't give me $35,000. But they did give me $34,500, so I took the job.
I love that. I feel like that's a perfect example of what people need to understand, that when you are negotiating, you have to be able to actually just do it. A lot of people don't negotiate because they've never done it in the past, or they're afraid to look stupid, or they don't want to say the wrong thing, or what if they negotiate and it doesn't come out the way that they want it to, or what if they get a full rejection no? How are they going to feel? And so often, and what has been popularized in the last, I want to say about 5 years or so, we've been talking about negotiate your worth. I take great issue with that tagline only because you can't put a price tag on somebody's life. right? So here, KD has said that she worked with Comcast out of college making $80,000. And if she tied her worth to $80,000 and went to a company that paid her $34,500, that would cause her to feel as though her worth is less than because they put that particular price tag on it. So what I say is you can't negotiate. I can't negotiate my worth because there's not enough money in the world that you could pay me, baby. But what I do say is I can negotiate the worth of the work that I do. So according to the market, what does the market say that I should be paid for these skills? Jean de Dieu talked about quite specifically, you know, making sure that you have a skill set, and it's a part of negotiating is not just simply in the workplace. You negotiate in your relationships, you negotiate in your business, you negotiate if you have children, you negotiate. You know, children are best negotiators on earth. They will negotiate ice cream and more TV time and all kinds of different things, right? So negotiating is all about resolving conflict. And that's what people don't realize. When they hear the word negotiation, they get nervous and they get uncomfortable. And they're like, well, I've never negotiated at a boardroom before. I'm not exactly sure. No, negotiating is all about resolving conflict. If you are keen on resolving conflict, if you recognize, okay, the company is saying this, but I know that I want this. Or for example, if you are in a relationship, this particular person wants to go see, I don't know, Black Panther tonight, but I've seen Black Panther 18 times. I'm ready to go watch another. Let's find a way to negotiate. It's about resolving conflict. And I love what you said. The tagline that I have in my community called We Resolve to Win is flex your courage muscle. And you have to be able to flex your courage muscle. So even when you're scared, even when your voice is shaking, you still have to be able to speak up so that you can negotiate for peace and negotiate to win.
I like that, Elizabeth. I'm so sorry, Keisha.
No, I just
I got you. I love that, Elizabeth. It's so good. And as you talk about courage, because courage usually comes out of defeats. And that's the thing. When people start winning, people think, oh, look at this motherfucker. They keep on winning. They keep on doing. No. Winners have lost more than most people. That's why they're winning, because they're okay with challenging themselves and being wrong, getting laughed at, making mistakes, starting businesses that fail. That all helps you build on courage. And I think in order to secure anything, you got to be able to secure yourself first. We talk about securing a bag, securing a relationship. And you talked about alignment earlier as well. I really like that. So you have to be in alignment with yourself first. If you're in alignment with yourself, you can align with any man, any woman, any organization, anything. But you have to be in alignment with yourself first. And I think that when you know yourself, and it's like Fred, I 100% felt you when you said, hey, I just learned myself. And I would say I will be 40 next year, which I cannot wait. I love getting older. I just love it. I can't wait to be 40 next year. I've been counting down. But one of the things for me is with getting to know myself. It didn't happen until I was about 33. After our experience in New York together, I really knew that was not what I wanted to do. I really knew that through that experience and me doing that, because for me, University of Phoenix was a opportunity, because there was nothing else I could really, I felt as if I could get into at that time because of my record. I didn't want to get into TV, but University of Phoenix also taught a lot too. And a university for me was a complete defeat for the plan. I'm a planner, right? So my plan was not, University of Phoenix was not in my plan. That was a defeat. When I was working there with you guys, I was in defeat. You see what I mean? But in defeat, you learn and you're able to exercise those muscles, that courage, and being able to know what you wanted to do. The businesses that I have today, I still have notes on my phone from 2011, 2012, 2013, when I was sitting in the bars at 8:30 in the morning after y'all got checked in, and because I hated what I was doing, truly. And when you do things, that's not in alignment with yourself, you will become physically sick. Mentally sick. And then once that happens, you get out of alignment with your goals. And so even in that lowest point, in that defeat stage, I would just say you still got to take notes. Like Keisha said, you still got to plan, because although I might have been drunk, you know what I mean? But I was taking notes, and I was thinking out of future to get me out of that place and that space, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to have a family, and what I wanted, what I have today, I would not have been able to have that then. And so getting to know yourself is critical. Because what's the point of living a life just to try to please other people? If you're not pleased with yourself, you're not going to be good at anything that you do. Even if other people think you're good, you won't be.
You know what? I'm going to jump in for a second, because I think I was talking or messaging Frederick about this actually, because everyone here that we all work together, at some point in time, I saw you bigger than where we were.
Yeah, we did have that conversation.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, I don't think he should be here. I don't think Frederick should be here. I don't think Keela should be here. You outgrown this place. You know, I kind of looked at everyone like that, you know, and I was like, there's no way that they should be here. Their skills have outgrown this place, you know, their maturity, you know, their acquisition of knowledge. They have outgrown this place, right? And so I think you all are a testament to why I have you on the show today. Because at some point you realize your worth and you said, I'm out of here. I'm going to forge my plan and keep it moving and leverage what I use here and the greatness that we all achieved there, and just go forward with something else that I want to do and put my stamp on, you know, the society, right? Put my stamp on what's going on in the world. So let me transition though to another question, because I want to piggyback off what Frederick said. And I've been waiting patiently to kind of jump in on this. So in all jest, all jokes aside, this question is really patterned after Jay Morrison. All jokes aside, right? You'll see what I'm saying in a second. What do you think about a person that is faking it until they make it? Right? And so does this movement have a place in securing the bag? Or should people not do this? Why or why not?
I have a thought about this.
And I'll go second.
Okay.
I haven't thought about this. I'm gonna give you that platform in a minute, Frederick. I see it bubbling up in you.
Yeah,
but,
ready.
I like to think, or I would like to reframe that phrase, faking it till you make it, and replace it with model till you make it. Find a mentor, find someone you can learn from, model their moves. We really don't have enough time on this call for me to tell you how KD Hall shaped my career, because I modeled everything I learned from her, and it helped me to develop as a professional in so many ways. The reason why I'm successful and the reason why I'm a master at time management is because of KD Hall, is because of other mentors in my life. Louise, I probably am going to butcher the name,
Louise. Also, shout out to Louise.
Amanda Blackman, a woman, Dana Murray. You know, find and model those mentors. And then you're able to see and witness that success and be able to say, you know, I can do this, not necessarily fake it till you make it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say that faking it until you make it may get you through the door, but it doesn't create sustainability for your career. And I believe it also doesn't lend to this new thing I've discovered a lot, and you know, over the last couple of months. It doesn't create this form of transparency. For me, me being in conversation with people, they literally would ask me, "What do I do for a living?" And I didn't even, you know, I didn't even have the answer for it, you know, because I didn't put it out. But in all seriousness, faking it until you making it doesn't create the transparency that you would need to bring people into your career or into your threshold that's going to help you sustain that career. You won't be able to ask the right questions because, in my opinion, you'll be in such fear of being discovered as not being the real thing.
Can I just, I got to say this because it's sitting with me. I initially was on a different team before working with KD. And so in her first meeting with the new team, the very first thing that she did was tell us her story about her record, tell us her, and I was like, unbelievable, this can't be true. But it inspired us in so many ways to know that despite anything, if you believe in enough in yourself and have passion about what you want to pursue, you can achieve anything. And guess what? When you have a team behind you, you can go leaps and bounds. So transparency, critical. I'm so glad that you mentioned that because it's just, oh goodness, it's so important.
But you also have to be mindful of who's standing in that path. Because you bring up, and then I remember KD gave me my first opportunity, but I won't make it too personal. Yeah. But I just know that the alignment, you know, just going back to the alignment. I've been in roles where, I'm going to remove the university fees, but I've been in roles where that person that's sitting in front of you, they have an expectation for you that you would never be able to meet. Not just saying like professionally, I'm just saying that they've already determined how far you're going to go. So sometimes it is important to know what your own trajectory is, because going back to University of Phoenix, I remember taking jobs just to work. And I didn't even know that you can actually not even negotiate, but also I didn't know that you can carve out any path that you wanted. So I spent an amount of time doing things that were not even meaningful, but doing it because I felt that I just needed a job. But it's totally different now.
And I would just say what Frederick and Lakeisha, I mean, you guys are crazy because Keisha, like your creativity had me on 10. You the one made me go out there and say, no, I'm starting my own business. I'm like, all these people starting their business, I'm out. And so I want to say that to you. And then Frederick, I remember talking on the phone with you and I remember. I remember. And after speaking with you, it was just because it was a few people we were speaking to that wanted to come to that campus. And I remember listening to the gut again. It was something that came on so strong. It wasn't even about any of us anymore. You had to be in New York. And however you got to New York, you needed to get there. And like that dropped so strong on my spirit. I'm just like, guys, we got to hire him. Let's get him out here. Let's do whatever we got to do. And that's exactly what even me, though. It was just listening. It was listening to like that feeling in my stomach. And it wouldn't let me stop. You know what I mean? It's like I had to fight for you, but it wasn't me. It was you. The way you projected yourself, the way you told your story. And naturally, I'm from Detroit. That's what I laughed at that Aretha Franklin dance. That sounds like a woman from Detroit. I'm gonna have my bag with me, whatever I'm doing. But for me, it was the alignment with you needing to be there. You needed to be in New York. It was bigger than you. It was bigger than me, and it was bigger than all of us. And so I think that like when we can quiet ourselves down sometimes to be able to listen to our gut and our intuition, sometimes we're doing things and it may, we did that, right? But that goodness that I got back from doing that with you, it also helped me. You know what I mean? And the same thing with Keisha. I remember when Keisha left University of Phoenix, we planned that.
We sure did.
We planned that. We planned that.
I want to add something. I want to add something too, because I just got to jump in and add something to you. I also remember receiving compliments in my work, and it just going over my head. It's anybody on this call that's listening, do not forget to celebrate yourself and your milestones when you are doing your thing at your job. It's going to be important because you're doing it more for than just your paycheck. You're doing it because you're good at it. And it's nothing wrong with giving yourself a pat on the back and saying, I did that. I had to go back and take ownership for a bunch of things now that I've done that I just let fly over my head. And I want to thank you for giving me my opportunity, because when you brought me to the campus and it was my second time working with university, you opened the doors for me. And I didn't even think you really existed. This girl sitting behind me that was white kept saying your name. I said, she don't know nobody with that name. I didn't know you were in a real person, but I was really good.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to snort. But she gave me the legal name, the K Keela. It's like, girl, shut up.
She don't know that's the government. The government, man.
So much. I learned so much. And I know that Jay Tyler wants to keep this a big secret.
Sorry, Jay. Sorry, man. We'll be professional.
Nah, you good. I
remember him showing me what the art of negotiation was when he stepped into someone's office and he felt that they didn't honor his talent. Yes. And I remember that story. So I'll leave it just like that.
So Jay Tyler, before you get into the next question, what was that story? I'm curious.
Oh, I can narrate that for you.
Got the cliff note.
Yeah, what was the story?
So what was that? We can talk about the art of negotiation. What was that?
Listen, this man was so organized. He was the first person I had ever heard of doing an interview with an iPad, right? That was like astounding. Like he would have everything laid out. Not what his capabilities in conversation would match what's on the iPad. I had never seen it before, but the story was, and I'll keep it like really simple. It was campus leadership, and he walked into her office, and there was a conversation that had happened that he did not. It wasn't like an honoring type of conversation, and he was able to exit that conversation on his own terms. And I was like, but this, I'm thinking like, is this what happens in New Jersey? Because, where I'm from, we're kind of like more obedient, in the South. But he literally knew his worth then. And this was back in 2010, 11 or whatever. No, that came in 12, 13-ish, 14 or whatever. But that's how the story was. It wasn't, I don't want to blow it up, but he showed me in that moment, if it ever sticks with me, about, and she had to apologize to him.
Wow.
Can I just, I'm sorry. I just want a real quick 2 seconds about Jay Tyler, right? So he and I worked in a different capacity for a different organization. I started at this other organization first. Well, no, I think we were trying to get in at the same time. We would speak regularly, and on this one phone call, the very first thing he said was, "How much did you negotiate your salary? By how much?" So you have to make this just a natural part of your conversation. To Elizabeth's point, and also to KD's point, just practice it. Just do it. Flex that muscle. Give yourself that skill through continued practice, and normalize that in your networks. For Jay Tyler to call me up and say, "Okay, what was the negotiation like?" That should be the expectation. Always.
I think that accountability is so important. If you are on any of the social media platforms, you will see quite regularly that people are quick to celebrate that somebody got the job. Someone says, "I got the job." They have all these likes and they've gone viral on Twitter and all sorts of things. But then the response or the follow-up question is, "Well, how much did you negotiate your salary?" And I always ask that question. I'm always fed crickets, oven baked crickets. And so I recognize that at least within our community that we have to hold each other accountable. If I have friends that are looking at new positions, I'm like, we are not just looking at the job description. We are also looking at the pay. What is your cost of living? Are you sure that you are clear on what your cost of living is? What are your goals in the future? Are you trying to retire? Are you trying to become financially independent? If you are an entrepreneur, what do you plan to have within your revenue stream, and what does revenue look like to you? So it's all about being planned. It's about being meticulous. It's about being measured, and it's also about being accountable. So I love that you've said that Jay has said to you, "Okay, now how much did you go in there and negotiate?" Because I want to be able to celebrate you having a new job. That's all good and well. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, or if you're an entrepreneur and you're living client to client, then we have a problem. There is a strategy issue, and there's also a structure issue, and we have to fix both in order to win.
You know,
I just
go ahead.
You mentioned strategy, Elizabeth. Like that just stuck with me, because one thing people do a lot of is lead with assumptions, right? And that assumption being that the salary is the salary.
That's a fact.
That isn't, the salary is there's always, there's a window, there's a budget. They've budgeted for a certain range. Now they will present to you an offer, and now the ball is in your court to have the conversation. But if you don't, then you just accept whatever they offer. So I'm so glad that you said that word strategy, because every conversation, like you said, it doesn't have to just be in the word. Everything is negotiation, and there is that range, and we have to not assume that what's on the paper is a hard fast rule.
Justin, if I could please just say one thing to that. I mean, that adds to the wage gap, right? It really does. And when you think about where Black women are at and Hispanic women are at, a lot of that is because we're not negotiating. We don't have because men will go in there and they probably don't even get all the qualifications. They may have 50%, but they're going to I'm going for it. This is my job. I've seen men do it and get the job. But a lot of times, on the other hand, we want to make sure we have at least 85% of the skill sets before we apply. And then I think that also got some gap. You know what I mean? We have to be able to ask for it. We got to go after it, and we can't be afraid of it, because if we go in lower, even once we start getting our raises, we're going to always be lower.
I'll give you the exact. Go ahead, Fred. Go ahead.
No, because we think of it in terms of it's like an honor for them to hire me. No, it's an honor for you to hire me. You know what I mean? No, it's an honor for them to hire you when it is an honor for them to really have you, is what I want to say. And that's something that's very valuable.
I mean, this conversation is fire, because it hits so many different things. And I can remember for all of us when we used to work together. I care about all of you. So when I talked to Lakeisha about that, like, listen, did you negotiate this? When I talked to Keela about strategy, right, and business and other things, and Frederick, we connecting again. We won't lose connection again. I promise you that. So, it's all these things are important. I appreciate y'all kind words as well, because we all had our battles that tested us and made us grow and level up, for sure.
Look, was definitely the West Side Story.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
You made it.
Yes.
Listen. So Jay Tyler, you know we never get through all our questions because I have another one, right? I think first. Yeah. Before and like we said, you definitely Elizabeth, I definitely want you to answer this question, and then we can get to everybody else. But before we do that, I just want to say to our viewers, listen, we are dropping some jewels tonight, so please hit that like button, hit that share button, call your friends and tell them they need to get on here and watch this, especially if they want to secure the bag. So the question that I have is that maybe about 20, 30, 40 years ago when we had a lot of manufacturing jobs, people were very loyal, to the company, right? Even, state workers that I know, they're very loyal to the company. And so when we talk about securing the bag, should you, live your professionalism as a free agent, or do you have to show that loyalty to the company?
You said Elizabeth's first.
Is that a question for me?
Elizabeth, Elizabeth.
Okay. Okay. I think your question is more so about loyalty to a company. That I think that's really what this is about. So first, we have to recognize that not everybody's situation is the same. There are some people who are taking care of sick children or children that have special needs. Mm-hmm. There are some people who have their parents that live with them. There are people who have some really tough financial situations that they're in, that it's not that they're being loyal to the company per se. They're trying to be loyal to themselves, and they feel as though, or society has told them that they can't leave or they can't do better or they can't go elsewhere. I will let you know that I am actually leaving the company that I work for after 7.5 years. And I work for the world's largest education company, Pearson Education, doing education management. And I'm leaving after 7.5 years. And the reason why that happened is not necessarily because it's a bad company, but earlier this year, I had an opportunity to attend an amazing vision board planning party. And during that time, led by a therapist, a clinician by the name of Erica Reed. And she had us do this exercise, which was absolutely brilliant. And we found words that stuck to us. And the words that stuck to me were integrity, meaningful work, and community. And when that happened, I realized I have to leave. I have to leave because I'm not doing the work that's allowing me to work in a way that is meaningful work for me, integrity and community. So it's not a ding on the company per se. It's a ding on what I was doing in that particular position. So I think what ends up happening is that people are afraid to leap. They're afraid to fail. They're afraid to go out and look stupid. And in particular in the United States, we have a culture where we always have to be right. We always have to have the answer. And even just thinking about the statement, fake it until you make it, we aren't even allowed to be authentic and transparent and say within the workplace, I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. I'm not sure, but I'll take some time to get into it, right? So I think that when we think about loyalty to an organization, a lot of people automatically are going to say, well, don't be loyal because that company's not going to be loyal to you. But what you have to recognize is that you have to think about your entire situation, and you have to think about what is going to work for my family. Your loyalty should be anchored with your family and with you and with your community and what's important to you. So if that means leaving because you're out of alignment with an organization after 2 years, leaving because you find yourself being in a toxic work environment. I have plenty of stories as a former employment litigator about toxic work, and a lot of stories about toxic work environments. And even for me, starting an organization with a 7.5-week-old baby, and now leaving with a 7.5-old child, my son, I now recognize that I was completely out of whack, completely out of alignment, and I have to be loyal to myself. And what that means is that I have to keep moving. That being said, I understand that many people are in different situations and they may not necessarily be able to pack their bags and leave and just be like deuces and call it quits. But what they can do is they can find a way to leverage their talents. If you know you have amazing talents and the organization has bypassed your talents, baby, you need to get on Etsy. If you're good at creating things, get on Etsy. If you know that you have the gift of gab, start a podcast. We have too much technology and too many options available today for us to be told to sit down in the corner and be grateful. It's 2021. People have lost their lives. The world has shifted. Economies have gone bust. The stock market has gone down and then up again. So what we have to recognize is that this is an opportunity for you to really discover who you are, regardless of your age. This is not a millennial thing. This is not a Gen Z thing. This is regardless of your age. You have an opportunity to be loyal to yourself, and you have the opportunity to walk in courage. But if you don't walk in courage, then yeah, you are going to be exactly in that position. And when the organization says, hey, we're going to go ahead and cut budget, we're going to reorg. How many reorg, right? They talk about people having dancing feet on your resume. No, if we have dancing feet on our resume from leaving every 2 to 3 years, what about these companies that reorg every 6 months, right? So we have to acknowledge that there's so many different flaws, and we have an opportunity to be wonderful. And to Zena Stevens's point, we have an opportunity to be loyal to ourselves. So never put yourself on the back burner in order to align with a company that is completely out of line with who you are.
Yeah.
I just want to add just a little context. I just want to add some tiny context. Just a tiny context. I believe that companies make the decisions that best fit their needs.
Of course.
And I always feel that as an employee, that you should also make those kinds of decisions to fit your needs. I have been in positions where I have sat next to someone that I have absolutely admired, and I love you as a manager, love you as a director, all those things, only to turn around 2 weeks later, just kind of like making it up. But then they'll be like, oh, I'm moving on to a different company. And so it really is, and I've seen people stay at companies for friendships and things like that. But I really feel like that you should look at your own situation and do what's best for you, because companies reorganizing. I've been a part of 5 layoffs since living in New York. And I'm telling you, when they come, and they love you, but it doesn't fit the needs of what they need to do. So if they can make those kinds of decisions, because we all go in the door thinking that we're going to be there forever. No one leaves the company and say, because it doesn't happen for me until the 3rd week. Oh, I'm going to leave. You know what I mean? So I'm
that's funny.
I'm going to stay. You know what I'm saying? So I feel that the next company that I work for, I'm looking for a couple of things, not trying to plug myself, but XYZ. But I'm always in the back of my mind, if I'm not keeping a contract going, I never want to be out in the dark and completely cut off, and then I don't know how to pay my bills. Like, you have to keep something rotating. For me, having a client here or there, 2 or 3, keeps me like a little bit of comfort in case that layoff happens. But let's just look at what has happened over the couple of years to probably all of us. They make decisions that work for them. Make your decision that work for you.
Only thing I would say is I'm 38. I'll be 39 this year. And I remember in 7th grade, or maybe it was 4th grade, they talked to us quite a bit about, hey, your generation will have about 12 to 16 jobs. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. They were teaching that to us in social studies back then. And so for me, I guess I went into life understanding that I wouldn't live the same life as my parents. My dad still works at General Motors. He's been there for about 45 years. Wow. I knew, but at the same time, I don't knock that, right? Because if my dad do that structural and that foundational work, I would not have been able to go to college. You know what I mean? So it's like, I appreciate my father working for General Motors for that long, paying for all the things we had to pay for in the city of Detroit. And I think that, to Elizabeth's point, sometimes you have to work at an organization. There's nothing wrong with that, because all of us, we would not have been able to have our businesses if we didn't have that professional experience first, right? That's how you learn. You learn there. But another thing too, like even generationally though, like truly, like millennials and Generation Z was never meant to be in organizations for 25 to 30 to 35 years. That was never the plan. I mean, and if you are doing that, you absolutely need to have other ways of being able to have funding and generational wealth. You have to have other ways of bringing money in. And so we have to be very strategic. But the loyalty thing, I think that I agree with everybody else. You have to be loyal to yourself. I'm sorry.
Yes.
You can't be loyal to yourself. You can't be loyal to anybody else. And that's just what it is. I'm more loyal to myself than I am to my kids, to my husband, because if I'm loyal to myself, I can in return be loyal to them. You know what I mean? But you have to take care of yourself. I'm down at 9 o'clock. Kids ain't sleep. All right. See y'all tomorrow. I love y'all. You know, I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. I mean, that's what I have to do what I need to do right now. You know what I mean? And be okay with that. Another thing I want to say too, I remember people always telling me I do too much, or like, you know, what are you? You want to teach, you want to do this. And it took until I had my first daughter. And when we found out she had sickle cell, I would never forget. And I was like, oh shit, I'm out here on my own. Like, we got to do this, like for real, for real. And then at that point, I started caring less about what other people had to think or say about what I'm doing. I'm like this. It's funny. People, they think they see me on social media. I have teams that run my social media. I'm like this from 4:30 a.m. until about 9 a.m. So I go work out. It's a regimen, right? You know, you do this, you get up early, you work early, you work out. And I might go, I can't say this, I don't know who's all listening, but I might go have a you know, I live in Seattle. It's legal here. I might go do whatever I need to do to get myself back to work.
Okay, definitely. Right.
But anyway, the bottom line is you gotta make your life fit you. I got 2 kids. My nanny is right outside my door. I have cameras. I can see what's going on with my kids. I plan to have more kids, but I also plan to have multiple businesses. My kids are not going to stop me from living my life. And even that too. I remember women telling me after I had my second daughter, what is wrong with you? Why are you out here? Why are you doing this? You need to be at home raising those kids. You know, and I would say that sometimes, you know, we're our own biggest critics, just because, and I always tell people this, and this came from TD Jakes, just because, you know, like your ceiling is my ground. That might be my ground. So don't judge what I can do based on what you think you can do. And I would just say, have the confidence to sometime ignore those people or say something back to them. Like, what do you mean? What you want me to do? You know what I mean? You got to be able to talk back to people. There's no boxes. There's no ceilings.
Oh my gosh.
Touch 3 people and say, get ready, get ready.
Yeah, I just got to say this. Like, you are preaching right now, because the running joke all my life has been, you don't really, like, they used to call me Tommy from Martin because they couldn't figure out what it was that I did, right? Thomasina. And then I had someone who said to me, oh, you seem very happy where I'm currently working. Can you just stick and stay and not do anything? Well, you don't really know who it is that I am. I've been like this since I was 6 years old. I have interests. I have different talents that I was gifted with. So my purpose on this earth while I'm here is to do those things. If you look on my Facebook, my cover says do all the things. We only have one.
All things are possible. It's like everything is possible.
Everything is possible. So no, there is not one thing, right? And the overarching one thing that I do is help people. All of the businesses that I run help people. So that's the overarching thing, but I can do that in different ways and not feel bad about it. And it's so interesting how people, they will celebrate the celebrities, love Queen Bee, Beyonce, you know, P. Diddy, they can have 75 businesses, whatever, but when you, the regular schmegler, tries to do it yourself, then there is, you know, like, oh, who does she think she is? Or, you know, so we need to just honor that we have the same 24 hours as everyone else, and just achieve those things and be okay with doing multiple things.
And I agree with you, Keisha and Justin. I know you might smack my hand and you can't. The only thing no, you don't like this one though, but Ice Cube, when I heard Ice Cube say this, it set it straight for me. He said, listen, I'm an actor, I'm a producer, I make music, I'm a father. He said, I do all things. Now, he said, one of the things I learned is when I'm making a movie, I sort of take a break from my music, but I've already done so much music 6 months ago, you're not gonna know I'm on break. You know what I mean? So like for me, I like making movies. So I make sure that I make enough 3 months out of every year when I do what I want to do. And you might think I'm still doing PR, but I ain't. My team doing PR. I'm making my movie. You know what I mean? But he did say, he said, like, as you're doing these multiple things, have times for them, have seasons for them. So if you know you like doing movies, get your movies done in a time frame, let's just say August through November of every year, and then drop them throughout the year. So that goes back to that strategy stuff. But do all things and don't let anybody put you in a box, and do self-care and rest as well.
But imagine this now. Imagine this. Imagine if Katie actually listened to what other people told her. Sit down, do one thing, don't do the most, raise your children, just be grateful. Imagine if she actually took on that guilt, those outside voices, then she wouldn't have the ability to touch the lives and get into business and into contact with other people that are growing and developing because of her gifting. So we have to be very meticulous and careful on who we listen to. I saw this great thing posted on Facebook today that it's something to the effect of, not everybody is supposed to know the call. It's not supposed to be a conference call, right? Not everybody knows the call on your life. It's not supposed to be a conference call, and something to that effect. But it was just so beautiful because it just reminded me that sometimes we are constantly seeking outside validation when we have to make sure that we are okay. So going back to what the topic on hand is about securing the bag, if we are constantly looking for corporations or even our clients to tell us that the prices that we set are okay, or the amount of salary that we want on an annual basis is okay, then we are capping ourselves because we're looking for that outside validation from our clients, from corporations, from other individuals, when we know we have our bills to pay, that we have financial goals to make. I have a podcast called We Resolve to Win, and I have a whole thing about how I knew that I was not being paid appropriately, because when I did my research, I should have received minimally for my geography in Orlando, Florida, $136,000 per year. I knew it. They knew it. I had the research. I was like, look, I got the research. This is what all the databases say. So when I went to them, knowing that at the time I was only making $50,000, I'm unashamed to say it right now because I was able to exceed that. At the time when I was making $50,000, and I went to them with my research and I said, I'm negotiating my salary because according to this, I should be making $136,000. And they were hemming and hawing and looking uncomfortable. I sat there in silence, right? I sat there in silence, which in my opinion is the best negotiation tactic. If somebody gets uncomfortable and you're negotiating, sit in silence, because we have been taught that we can't just sit in discomfort for 5 seconds. So immediately people will start talking. The result of that is over 12 months, I was able to go from $50,000 to $100,000. So I was able to break 6 figures, and that has since gone way up. But my point is that you have to make sure that you know, and that you can validate your own self. And this is something that I myself, I'm constantly working through, and I'm constantly trying to support other women to work through. Because if you're looking for other people to tell you, yeah, girl, do this. Nah, baby, don't go there. Just be grateful. You will not get the success that you want for your life. Be loyal to yourself.
Yeah, I want to add to Elizabeth, because I haven't been able to quote her yet. So I want to give an example. I'm going to say it really short and simple. We have to live in real time. Just like when you were mentioning about like putting things out there, just going to paraphrase, like as you are working. Like I realize now, like living in real time allows me to not check in for validation. I mean, I can't tell you the countless many times that I've mentioned something and I have a complete panel now giving me a bunch of feedback. And I realized that if I just didn't say it, I can just really accomplish it. I know what I really want to do. So I'll just leave that with, just saying that it's operating in silence and getting the job done. Even traveling in silence. I just did it recently. It was such a smoother experience for me. So thank you for mentioning that, Elizabeth.
Well, Jay Tyler, I know we're probably going to question number 2.
At least 3.
Hey, this next question. Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't interrupt greatness sometimes. You gotta let it marinate. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But now that I have the floor to ask a question, I'm going to ask a question. Before I do that, though, I am wearing some new frames here, and actually, I'm wearing them as inspiration for DMX. And rest in peace and rest in power to DMX. He actually wore glasses like these in Belly, one of my favorite movies. So I just want to make sure we point that out, give him his flowers, as well. But let's progress to the next question here. So people throw out this secure the bag. Does it mean working a 9 to 5? Does it mean 10 toes down? Shout out to Nipsey Hussle, getting out the mud through entrepreneurship. Is that what getting the bag is, or securing the bag? Is it a combination of both? Is it just hustling? Make it make sense to me, people. What is actually securing the bag?
I can see her pulling through the screen.
Oh, sorry, Justin. I think securing a bag is whatever it is to you. I think it has to be intentional to you. Like all of you, we all think of times when we were just following trends. And when I know for me personally, when I finally accepted that I don't follow trends, I'm a trendsetter, and get comfortable with that responsibility that comes with that lack of sometimes people that really want to get to know you because you are a trendsetter. Once I accepted that, then I was able to truly understand what it was like to secure a bag. Now, I'm that person that's made plenty of money. I'm that person that's made a little bit of money too. And so when I say that I quit, I was that person that quit my job. I just walked out, I said, screw y'all. Y'all hold me up and get to my business. And I struggled. And Justin, you were friends with me deeply during some of that time of that struggle. We struggled bad. I mean, I could think of times when we were, in our 30s with degrees and stuff. And like, we got all these eviction notices happening. It was crazy. But at the end of the day, we had that plan. We had that vision board. And when times got hard, I mean, I still was able to get a little bit of cannabis because we were in Seattle. But when times got really hard, I was able to still go back to that vision board and stay on that vision board, right? And being able to make sure to still move through that. So securing a bag to me back in 2014, when I first started my business, is different than what it is now. Today, securing a bag for me is having an international team. I just hired my first international project manager full-time from the Philippines. He's running our businesses now. That gives me a chance to do stuff like this. I missed the last meeting like this, remember? Because I was too busy. It's like all the money was good, but I didn't have no time to myself. You know what I mean? And so now securing the bag is more than the bread to me. I'm gonna get the bread. Oh, I'm gonna get the bread. I'm gonna get plenty.
You're gonna get it. You're gonna get it.
But in addition to that, I need my sleep. Securing the bag for me now means I go to a spa for 8 hours twice a month by myself. I have that drink by myself. I get that Asian Chinese spa. I never had anybody give me a bath before until this year. But like, I do those things for myself now because it's so important to my self-care. Like Elizabeth said earlier, like that self-care part of it is so important to secure my bag. Because if I'm rested very well, then I'm a better mother. I'm a better wife, right? And I'm better to myself. So securing a bag is different for you depending on where you are in growing your empire. And my empire now is also about having more kids, right? That's a part of building that empire. So securing a bag for me is ensuring that I'm healthy enough to have a baby probably at 40. So I don't got time this year.
I want to say
you dropped so much. I mean, I'm so sorry. I just got to say this, like from a self-care perspective, you always have to prioritize yourself. I've begun doing that, even putting in sacred time for myself. But just to get back to the question around securing the bag and what that it looks different for everyone. So for me, no, it doesn't necessarily mean securing the bag means a 9 to 5. Quite frankly, I'm a Gemini. I like multiple things. I like more than one thing, right? So I like more than one bag. So I asked the question, what kind of bag am I trying to secure? Am I trying to secure that insurance bag? Am I trying to secure that down payment bag? What am I trying to secure that monthly membership to Hand and Stone Spa bag? So whatever it is, frame it for what works for you. So I'm glad that you raised those points, KD, and everybody's circumstance is going to be different. Does it necessarily mean a 9 to 5 to me? No, I definitely think multiple ways. And when I think of 9 to 5, and this has always been my mindset, I look at a traditional job as my financial lending institution for the things that I want to pursue for myself, right? I do trade that time for money and pour it into my businesses to grow that, to provide or create that generational wealth and legacy for my daughter.
I will say.
And I'm just going to say that I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'll go last.
Okay. You'll close this out. The icing on the cake. So for me, I am the bag. I'm securing myself. And I believe that people should see themselves as the bag. And what do I mean by that? It's one thing to make $300,000 per year. It's one thing to have a 6-figure business, 7-figure business. It's another thing where you have an estate together and you have your will and you have your trust and you have your properties and you have a power of attorney. Or if you get sick, I had COVID 2 weeks ago. I thought I was going to die. And I said to myself, I got these 2 kids, and I was looking at my husband. I was like, "You about to be a widower?" I got these 2 kids, and I said to myself, "But you know what? As uncomfortable as I was struggling with COVID-19, I knew that our state is protected, because when my son, who's now 7.5, was 2 years old, we went and we got the will. We went and we got the trust in place, that the house is in the name of the trust, right? We know that we are able to, that something is to happen to me physically. If I become incapacitated, if God forbid, if I have a stroke and I can't make decisions for myself, that I have my medical documents in place. I have my power of attorney. I have my medical power of attorney, things like that. So for me, I am the bag that needs to be secure. So the bag, and we circling back to Aretha Franklin, that she put on that piano and she could keep her eye on because she had her coins in there. If I am the bag, that is my salary that I've negotiated, my businesses that I've put in, my clients that are paying me well, the companies that I am working with as well, me traveling internationally. So at the end of the night, when I'm able to take that bag and tie that bag up, I know that all of those assets are protected. So I am the bag. You are the bag. We can secure it by making sure that we have our legal documents in place. That's what I believe.
I just want to say just a little, add a little context to it. When you are securing your bag, speaking of the strategy that everyone touched on, just make sure when you're securing it that you have your own individual idea of how you want to accomplish it. I can't tell you how many times, just putting it back on me, where I have wanted a role because someone else had it and it sounded really cool at dinner. Or I wanted the salary because someone else had it, and I want, and therefore, if we're traveling, we make the same amount of money. I think just having a strategy in place and following your own ideas, and while you are practicing self-care, just if you're going to do the bag, do it your way and not someone else's way.
I agree with you, Fred. And I remember being that person trying to do it other people's way, and it never works. It never works all the way. And Elizabeth, you are so right. I swear to you, once COVID hit, we took our life insurance policies to the next level. We took it to a level of generational wealth, because of course we all were thinking about death last year. We'd be lying if we said we weren't. And for me, I looked at my daughter. My one daughter has special needs, although she's healthier than most. My second daughter, she likes money. So I know that if something happens to me or my husband, or if something happens to him, I need to make sure that life, how much is that life worth? You know what I mean? Like, truly, how much is that life worth? I plan for us to live a long time together. In the event something happens to him, we have a policy on him that's enough that will pay off our house, that will also give me 2 times the amount of our house in my bank account, plus a savings, right? Same thing for me. And then with the felony, you got to have everything in trust, right? Because I mean, it can get taken from you very quickly. And so, yes. And so being able to have all those things in place, and just even from a Black people in general, this is just to Black people.
Come on, talk about it.
Because my in-laws right now are very sick. My father-in-law just, we probably had a massive heart attack last night. He's in the hospital. My mother-in-law is at home right now. My husband, because they're calling him. We're in Seattle, they're in Detroit. They're stressing him out. I called them and I said, listen, Ma, I love you. And we're doing everything we can. We take care of all your bills. We take care of all your legal stuff, everything. We're doing everything we can. Plus, we start our own businesses. You're going to sign that power of attorney or we're done. And they're actually doing a power of attorney tomorrow to be able to have the full power over everything. Because that's the thing, too. As we age, it's not fair for us to put that burden on our kids.
It's not.
Their lives, building their lives. And that's just one thing for sure. When I'm starting to go downhill, my kids ain't going to have to worry about it. Okay. Just let me do what I do. Bring me back to Seattle if it's not legal anywhere else. But y'all do what y'all do. You know what I mean? And I think they need
that is securing the bag.
Cannabis is not cheap. Cannabis is not cheap.
That's the bag.
No, that's the bag for Katie. Cannabis is not cheap. But that's such an important thing, because with many minoritized communities, Black and brown communities, the money is flowing up and it's flowing backwards. So we're trying to save for our children. We're trying to take care of our parents, and it's going like this. That is not a way always the case for many majority communities where they're able to have their money, put their money in their Vanguard accounts, their investment accounts, and things of that nature. And so we are playing this game of catch up. And as it relates to the wealth gap, we're not able to close the wealth gap. One, because we know that at least Black women are only being paid 62 cents for every dollar that a white man makes. And I'm being generous. It's really like 61.4 cents, but I'm rounding up. And we recognize that because within the corporate spaces, we are not paid appropriately. So going again, back to the topic at hand, we have to negotiate, particularly when you're in the corporate space. And if you are an entrepreneur, you need to negotiate your contracts. You need to make sure that you know what the market is paying, and it's okay for you to raise your prices. There's no shame in you raising your prices simply because you think, well, I don't want to go too high. No, know the value of the work that you do, of the business that you own, and you are able to move forward successfully so that in case that money has to flow this generation and the generation behind you, you're able to be more successful. So secure yourself.
Secure yourself, yeah.
And take your breaks, right, too. Like, you have to know your limitations, too. Right. Even with family, you got to know when to take your breaks. I love y'all. I mean, I know we probably not supposed to say that on air, but this has been absolutely amazing. Duncan and Jay Tyler, y'all killed it. Like, seriously. And listen,
the panel is really dope. Yeah. Like, when I saw the faces on the flyer, I said, "Is a coincidence?" It's so great.
Yeah, I would definitely be tuning in to watch this in the future. This is really amazing, and it's so true though, because like that, but truly, like, the stress in our DNA is already enough. We don't need the extra stress. It's like, parents, do what you got to do. Take care of those kids. Let those kids live their life when they get older. You know what I mean? Let them live their life when they're in their 30s and their 40s. Have your stuff set up so that they don't have to be stressed out trying to help you set up while you're, sort of losing it a little bit.
Yeah, but you said the stress in our DNA. It's also the messages in our DNA as well. The things that we tell ourselves that we cannot do and that we cannot achieve. And this color in this space, I think that we had gotten so used to being addicted to struggle. And when you see women, if you folks doing really well, you're like, oh, who does she think she is or whatever. It's like, why we can't exist in so many other spaces and really do X, Y, Z and
talk about it, Fred.
Like the other
Talk
folks.
about it. Talk about it. Yeah,
I just want to throw some context in
that. Happens a lot. That happens a lot, actually. Oh, wow. Okay. Look, in respect of time, we could chop it up just as regular, but we do have guests here, and I want to be respectful of time. Yeah, we definitely have to do that. Part two. Yeah. So we only got a couple of questions, 2 more questions, and we're gonna round this show up, right? Okay. Prematurely it feels, but you got to round it up, right? So here's a question that I have. When I think of securing the bag, I don't know if he did such a great branding job or not, but I think of DJ Khaled, because he always talks about the major key alert, secure the bag alert. He does professional branding, like he really does it pretty well, right? So who to you is a living and breathing example of securing the bag? It could be someone today who's really doing it like that, or it could be someone from the past that was really, really doing it like that. So who or for you are the example or the exemplar of securing the bag?
Ida B. Wells. I'm just gonna go to the past. Ida B. Wells, we be sleeping on her. She was killing it. Like all the way back then.
Yes.
She was really traveling around the globe doing lectures. You know what I mean? She was doing there were so many women from back then where I feel like I get my most strength from, because they were working in a time that was totally working against them. Right now, I feel like Black women, and it's sad that like overall the Black men aren't there either. And I mean it by, because society is like getting in the way of that and trying to kill off our Black men. But Black women in particular in corporate and in businesses, I feel like we're in a totally different space than what we were in back then. Like the energy is kind of pushing us, propelling us forward in some ways. And then we talk about marketing. We do need to do a part 2, because even the marketing last year, I was really paying attention to how they were really pushing the interracial marriage with the white male and the Black female. Now listen, I don't got no problems with anybody. Okay, my husband's mother is everything. Okay, more white than she is Black, but it was systematically, if you really paid attention, right before the elections, every single commercial had a white man and a Black woman, removing the Black man. And so I think that that's important too in marketing. And when you're buying, seriously, watch all those commercials from last year. But if you really pay attention to marketing, you have to pay attention to what they're doing. A lot of that stuff is like sort of getting into our brains and getting us to think a certain type of way. It really is. So I think Ida B. Wells back in the day, I think today it's just the way people are doing their social media, the way they're doing their commercials.
Yeah, and I'm going to use the example of someone that is only partially written about, my mom. She's the current county commissioner of District 1 in her city. And she actually has 3 businesses. And she may be upset if she sees this, but I was just in her office and watched her make $17,000 in one day. Right in her office from her new channel of business that she's doing bondsman. And the reason why I want to bring her up is because my mother has assertive energy, but she's no BITCH. She's not that. She has been, I've seen her reinvent herself, and I've seen her go through relationships, and I've seen people maybe count her out, but she has been strong through her fight, and you would never see her flinch when it comes to helping someone else. Yeah. And I've seen her reinvent, and I've seen her say, being alive today, I'm doing this for all of you. I've seen her make moves, and I've seen her just be really an example of just a person outside of gender. So I just want to bring her up and say that she's the person that I want to use as an example. And I'm like, I can't even compare, but I know that I have it in my DNA, so hopefully it'll work for me too.
Well, let's clap it up for Frederick's mom. We gotta clap that up. We can clap that up.
Yo, listen, Mom, I needed a passport. She called UNC Pembroke, and she was like, "My son need a passport." The chancellor was like, "Bring him over." And I'm like, wow, like 2 days ago.
Your mom. I gotta renew my daughter. So like,
it's so crazy, but like she doesn't, and she doesn't think from any woman. So she had to be strong from a little girl, and it's just amazing. So that's what I say.
Right. Yes, sir.
I would say Arlen Hamilton. Arlen Hamilton is the founder of Backstage Capital. She's a VC, a venture capitalist, and she is a Black woman, a part of the LGBTQ plus community. And she is doing an amazing, phenomenal job, because what she's doing is working with founders, individuals who are a part of, again, marginalized communities. So she is elevating the voice of these individuals who have businesses, who have ideas, and who just don't have the funding in place, or traditionally Silicon Valley has turned them away or would not typically give them money. And Arlen is absolutely amazing, and she's just shattering so many ceilings and just challenging so many different spaces, because she is able to recognize that all the things that we talked about, all the things that they've told her, you know, Arlen, you're doing too much, or hey, you just should sit down, and all these sorts of things that is constantly imposed on women, constantly imposed on Black women, and constantly imposed on Black women that are part of the LGBTQ plus community. She is able to say, you know what, I know what my talents are. I know what my skills are. I know what I'm excited about. I know what I'm going to move forward. Oh, and I'm going to bring people along with me, because these people have not been given a voice. They have been deliberately silenced. So I think Arlen is securing the bag in an amazing way. She just closed the deal. I think last month she just raised $2 million on Twitter in like 8 hours. She now has a relationship with Mark Cuban, a co-venture capitalist as well. She just released a book with, I can't remember the publishing company, but she just released a book by the name of It's About Damn Time. And she just purchased back her options about her, well, she's in the process of purchasing back her options about her own life story. So when I tell you, this is somebody who is rattling the cages and getting on magazine covers such as Fast Company. These magazine covers have not traditionally put people that look like us on those covers. I think she's doing an amazing job. She's securing the bag, and she's opening the bag to help others secure their bag as well, which I think is amazing.
Woo. Goodness. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You have my example here on the call. Katie Hall. Katie Hall, who, I mean, and I'm going to give another example, but, you know, Katie Hall, like, it's so impressive how, you know, you have touched so many different industries, and grown multiple businesses. And so you definitely, for me, have been a living, breathing example of securing the bag. But I will raise up another person in mind, someone who may not be familiar to those of you on the call right now, but someone who's very familiar to me and I look to like my circle when I think of influencers. And this young lady, her name is Mecca Terry. And she's the founder of Dove Love Hand Designs. And the reason why I feel that she's a great example of securing the bag, she has multiple streams of income from unrelated ventures. Similar to Keela, things that are unrelated. You don't have to be a one-trick pony, right? So to speak. So very impressive. She's an educator. She's a professor. She also does work in the hair care space, in the skincare space, plant care, jewelry. The list goes on and on. She's not put into a box. And so I always admire people that I can look to from my circle and say, hey, they have some fire in their spirit that I want some of. And so Mecca Terry, but definitely KD Hall, who has been just a mentor even from afar in Seattle.
Yeah, let's clap it up for KD Hall.
Yeah, we want to clap it up.
I'm telling you, she knows this. I tell her all the time. And let me tell you something about this woman here. She celebrates women. She's just so genuine and authentic and really wants to see us win. And she will push you and help you to see beyond yourself. And you need people like that. You need people in your corner who will push you to see beyond that limit that you have, that glass ceiling, so to speak. And so I just encourage you, look at who's in your circle. And if they're not pushing you to do better, then you might want to rethink that circle.
One of the commenters, I hope I'm not saying the wrong name incorrectly, but I think is Nasha Andrews, says, give KD her flowers.
Oh. Yes.
I can see that. I hope I'm saying it right.
Yeah.
You guys are sweet. This is good. We need to get together.
I'm saying it right.
Hey,
Definitely.
That's one of the people I love, Naisha Andrews.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna say it right. Okay.
Naisha. Okay.
All
definitely.
Right, cool.
And KD Hall, definitely, she's a mentor for me as well. I actually had the pleasure of having my other mentor on one of our shows here as well. Both of them are women. Always open the doors for me to do some things. So definitely respect that. I'm glad you're here, KD, for sure. You're super humble because you're doing your thing. You're super humble right now.
Very.
Let me roll into the last question. All right. And I think this is good for our audience too as well. So if a person is not necessarily securing their bag right now, maybe their value is low, maybe they don't know their value, maybe they're 2 steps away from turning the corner for a breakthrough, right? What top 3 things would you tell them if they want to build their value to secure their bag? What are some things that you're going to tell that person so they can just go off and reach that level?
Personally, I would tell them, and I feel like I've done this to myself. I would just tell them, first of all, you need to get that old school piece of paper, the pros and cons list. I know it's so old school and basic, but okay, what is it that you're trying to do? What are the pros of it? What are the cons? And sometimes it's relationships that you're in. And it's if that relationship's not working for you, you can't be in a relationship with somebody and trying to secure yourself if it's not in alignment, like Miss Elizabeth said earlier. So that even means sometimes removing people and things. And sometimes it means removing your own self-doubt and removing the old version of you. You know what I mean? And I mean that seriously. I have had to do that several times.
Yeah, that's free.
Yes, you got to remove those barriers. You need to write down your pros and cons list, and then you need to write down a plan. And you know what? It's not going to always go as planned, but you need to stay on plan. You need to stay on track. When you get defeated, hold on to those rejection letters as much as you hold on to those kudos and use it to fuel yourself. You know what I'm saying? If that's how you do it. But I would ask them questions about themselves, get to know you. And then once you do that, even if because those slumps is where you get the most education. Those areas when you're not securing your bag, like Miss Elizabeth said earlier, you're not securing yourself. That could be the most motivating time because you're learning so much about yourself. You don't lose. You either win or you learn. You win, learn, grow. There's no losing. Nobody really lose when you really think about it. And that's what I would say.
Yeah, and I'm going to add to that and say I'm using everything that she said. And now the add-on is tell that person to armor up, like surround yourself with armor, because it's time for a fight. It's a war, right? And I love the part when you said that, I'm going to paraphrase, because I did something recently when I went through the next natural step of progression in my career, which is UX design. I started to exit out of a lot of relationships, partnership, friendship, cousinship, situationships, just all kinds of shit. because I needed to armor up, and then going back to that old school piece of paper, I used that. I would tell the person, not make it about, but use that so you can map out what it is that you want. I think sometimes in that scenario, the people around you sometimes become distracting, or either an object becomes distracting. And I would have them assess what's around them and what's keeping them from moving forward, because the next thing that's going to happen for you is going to be embalmment and then dead, right? So then what are we going to do in between takes before you hit that slab? Not to be so morbid, but you only get one time at this. So if you're not going to secure it before, now, like when? Now, I guess I shouldn't say it that way, but I would just have to tell them to limit some of the distractions, because it's important. I don't think anyone should leave this earth without, like Lakeisha said, I'm just going to paraphrase, leave this earth and never do the things that make you happy.
Wow. Yeah.
That's just I'll close it out with that.
Yeah.
Well, what I would say is, I'll keep it brief. First, definitely keep a track of your contributions. Keep that running record. Remind yourself of your worth. Secondly, don't be afraid to show and tell. So this is why LinkedIn is my favorite place to be.
You've been doing your thing on LinkedIn.
Right, I love it. Instagram, no, don't get it twisted. LinkedIn is my favorite space to be. Number one, because it's a positive forum where you can not only celebrate your success, but others recognize your worth, your value. They may essentially want to partner up with you or work with you or work for you. Don't be afraid to show and tell. That's my early childhood hat. And then lastly, invest in personal development, invest in learning and growing, whatever it is that you want to learn more of, do that. So there are tons of free courses. Even when I was in college, I told you self-taught and coding and all that good stuff. I just surrounded myself around people who, even though I studied English, surrounded myself with people in technology. I became a member of NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers. Guess how I helped them? I was writing I was their writer for their newsletter, but I absorbed all of this great information about computer science and engineering just from being in that space. So take advantage of those opportunities.
Anybody that lives in New York right now can get Coursera courses for free if anybody's on the call from New York. So
that's a wonderful tip, Frederick. That's a great tip. I would say if someone is really interested in securing the bag, that a couple of things. One, they should not put their own personal value on a number. They shouldn't say, I am worth this salary. I will tell you, I've been someone that I've been broke and I've been on the rich side of society as well, right? So I've been here and I've been here. And those things don't make me who I am. So I think it's very important that people really anchor themselves in knowing who they are before they allow, again, their business, their clients, or a corporation to tell them who they are. So that's very important. Second, I think if a person is interested in learning and developing and growing, particularly in the space of negotiations, that they have to take the time necessary and invest in themselves. And that may mean spending extra time on Google. Again, whenever I ask the question, how do you know according to the market, your position should be paid? How do you know that? How much time did you spend researching? And I hear, oh, I spent 15 minutes. That's not enough time. That's not going to get you the information that you need. So you need to make sure that you're taking the time to research. And then I always say practice makes permanent. We can't get to perfection, but we can get to permanence. And so when you are negotiating your contracts, when you are negotiating in the corporate space, when you are resolving conflict in your relationships, in your friendships, in your marriage, in your partnerships, you have the ability to get to a place where you are far better if you practice. If you run away from conflict, if you're constantly saying, no, I'm uncomfortable, if you're avoiding having those tough conversations, if you're not flexing your courage muscle, then yeah, when it's time for you to show up in front of your clients and when it's time for you to negotiate in the corporate space, it's going to feel a little more awkward than it has to be. So I always encourage people, practice with your boo, practice with your friend, hold your friend accountable, and build a community around you flexing your courage muscle, because that will give you the skills, and keep building. Don't stop, keep building, keep running that race. That way you will find that when you are actually on the track and you're actually in it, you're not huffing and puffing and out of breath because you've done the thing that you needed to do. So I encourage everyone to make sure that you are aware of yourself, that you practice good emotional intelligence, and that you are flexing your courage muscle as much as possible.
And Jay Tyler, we got the homie Farr Harris tuning
Shout
in
out
with
to
us tonight.
Farr.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, we're gonna
amazing woman.
Yes.
Amazing woman. One of my best
Farr,
friends.
I haven't called anity crazy since that episode.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know
I remember that episode. That was a good episode.
Okay. Definitely, she set us straight on that one. Yeah, she set us straight. Right. You know what I mean? For sure.
She'll do that.
So, yeah, definitely will. Definitely respect. Shout out to her for sure. Yeah, we about to end this show, y'all. This was a great conversation. I really hate to end it. I'm not done, but in respect to everybody's time, we got to do something and close it out, right? We can come back with a part 2. I'll talk to Duncan about that, see what he wants to do. Hopefully,
it's already done. Let's put it on the calendar.
All right, bet. We gonna assemble like the Avengers, you know what I mean? So that's what we're gonna do for the next show, for sure.
Form like Voltron.
Yeah, right. You know, for all the 80s babies, you know what I mean?
That's right.
So I think the necklace should be called Bag Secure. Now, what's up? You know what I mean?
Right.
Okay, all right.
Secure, period.
Yeah, we're gonna give you a period, right? I see you. Okay. We got a lot of options. We got a lot of options to use. I like that though, Frederick. We can jump it off with that for sure. But so Dunk, let's get the prompts ready for everyone in terms of their social media, website, things like that. So to close it out, Elizabeth, we'll start with you first. All right. So in terms of where can we find you on social media, if you have your website, things like that, how can we all find you?
Sure. So again, thank you so much for having me and allowing me to speak on your platform. Again, my name is Elizabeth Guetti. I go by Elizabeth Go because a lot of people can't say Guetti. So G-O, Elizabeth Go. I have a podcast of the same name, We Resolve to Win. I also have Instagram. I'm on Clubhouse, trying to get better and more active on Clubhouse. And I am here to support. I primarily support women. So I'm sorry, my brothers. I'm sorry. But if you have questions, I will be there for you as best as possible. But the community is to create a safe space for minoritized women. So again, it's We Resolve to Win. If anybody has any questions, if anybody wants to know what they need to do in order to build their negotiation strategy and flex their courage muscle, I'm available as a resource. Elizabeth Go at weresolvetowin.com.
Who's next?
Awesome.
Let's go with Lakeisha. I was gonna say that too as well. So we
so
in synchronicity right there.
Marketing is my position, my role, right? And when we started, I didn't even say. I just was like, "Yeah, girl, I got like 85." I didn't tell y'all nothing about nothing that I do. So Lakeisha Cyprian, I spend tons of time on LinkedIn, so that's the best place to find me. Where I'm under Lakeisha Cyprian MED. I also have an early education consulting firm, which is focused on early child care directors and business owners, well-positioned early child care solutions, where I do training and coaching around business practices and also essentially just helping to keep the lights on, negotiations and shared services. So for that, you can just email me at Lakeisha, LAKEISHA.Cyprian @gmail.com. I also launched a business recently with my twin sister. We have a group fitness business, High Vibes Group Fitness, where we offer in person and also virtual group fitness classes. Our menu of services is growing by the minute. We only launched in February. We have now expanded to 3 locations, and we have about 8 instructors now, and are continuing to grow expediently. So very excited about that. So even if you are in Qatar, you can take our group fitness classes, find out about them at hivevibesfitness.com, and you can follow our social media at High Vibes Group Fitness. And I also do website design, and I do that for small businesses on a budget. I feel just a great reward when I'm able to help other entrepreneurs launch their business. ASCdreams.com is how you can find me if you need any web design or email marketing.
Keisha, we talked about this. I'm also a Gemini and a twin as well. But we'll leave that. I don't spend any time in any particular place, but and my business is very specific. So it's UX design. So you can go to my website, which is frederickWilliams.design. And my email is frederick.williams@iCloud. But you have to remember my name is FREDRICK. It's only one E. I'm on all the social media platforms at that Fred Factor. And that's how you'll find me.
Okay, and thank you all so much for having us here today. So I would say if you are interested in the inherent power of women and girls in leadership positions, follow me at KD Hall Foundation. That's the side of me that's very much about the community. If you're interested in having your story told, or if you are in a crisis or you need some change management strategies, you can reach me at kdhall.com. That's my communications firm. And if you want to be able to get a little bit of intimacy or take care of your self-care with some CBD, you can reach me at bellbodyroyal.com.
I feel like that last piece was a commercial. It was a commercial mode.
Have you seen the commercial? Have you seen that that teaser though?
Oh yeah, the commercial drops tomorrow. As a matter of fact, the full 30-second commercial, and y'all boy David, I got him out of his comfort zone.
It was amazing.
Oh, I got David out there.
Oh yeah, I got David out there.
Wow,
it was amazing.
I'm nervous.
Wow, you got David out there. That's what's up. Shout out to David, man. Shout out to him. Sure. All right. Well, I think this is it. This is a fun time. Duncan, what you got to say, man? How you gonna get us out of here? How you gonna, let us know your parting shots?
Well, yes, definitely. Then, as we say, now it's time to say goodbye to my HR friends. Right.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we just want to say thank you to all the viewers out there. Definitely, please tune in. Not next Thursday, but the Thursday after that to the Rise and Grind show. Definitely check out www.mercercountyworks.com, where we believe there is power in hiring local. And I just want to leave you with this as you go to secure the bag. If you don't have a plan for your life, somebody else does. Thank you.
Sounds like a radio show. I love that.
Peace.
So cool. Bye, y'all.
Do we really hang up?
Yeah.